This is the Fusion Splicer we're going to be using. The model number actually skips me. I didn't actually buy this. I loaned this from work since we're using this to splice some fiber optic, all the new fiber optic runs at work. And I'm sure you're about to tell me that this is quite overkill to buy a Fusion Splicer just to splice some new fiber, but I will have you know that I would rather use this than splice 240 some odd fiber optic ends, and this is quite a bit more reliable, and as funny as it happens, the cost of the splices and the cost of this actually is pretty much the same. So yeah, there's pretty much no reason to use the old-fashioned splicers, especially when this is quite a bit better. But this is it right here, but we'll get on to that in a second. First I'm going to show you what we're doing. So I have Verizon Fios. And after they upgraded our ONT, I had the fiber optic cable as well as everything else nicely concealed where everything needs to go, down into this hole into the crawl space. But the niceness as far as the fiber optics go pretty much ends right there. And I'll show you what they did wrong, what I don't like, and what I plan to do. Alright, so this is the old ONT outside, no longer being used. Well, it's just being used as a junction box. And, oops. This is my doing right here, twirling it up, and there it is connected to the official demarcation point. But, so, as you can see, this is a nice bundle of cable. The problem is, let's see where it's going. It drapes down into the crawl space hatch, which is not a very good spot for it to be going into. Fortunately, there's just enough gap so that it doesn't really cause any problems. See, it is quite loose. However, and the big problem, or not really a problem, but I mean it is a problem because it's going into there, but we have a hole right here that was designed for the power supply for this ONT that's no longer being used. And it goes inside, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the cable through underneath the crawl space back up into this other room and come out through this hole and then go to this point right here. The problem is I cannot fit this connector through that hole, so I have to cut it up. I'm sure there's a way you can remove this. I'm pretty sure this was not like this when the technician installed it, but I'm not about to mess around with this connector. Instead, like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and splice it, and we're going to, or cut it, and then we're going to splice it, and hopefully that should be able to help me clean it up. If you're like me and getting ready to splice this on the Friday of a holiday weekend, you're probably also like me, or want to be like me, and get a fiber optic cable that matches, or at least is going to be compatible with the connection you're about to splice, because yeah, I would much rather not make a mistake. I know I'm not going to make a mistake, but just in case, I'd rather not screw it up to the point where I need to have a technician come out and pay them $100 to fix it. I'm probably good talking to about me not messing with their stuff. Although technically this is on my side of the demarcation point, but either way, I don't want anything to happen, so I'm just going to go ahead and run this to the ONT over to the demarcation point, so I at least especially have internet while I'm doing this. Alright, I think that's temporarily a success story, at least until we get this taken care of. 50 feet of fiber optic cable definitely makes a difference, especially when you only have to go about 10 feet. The reason why they installed this cable was because when he was running it, the head was quite a bit smaller, so I'm even more convinced that this is some sort of modular thing. But like I said, not really going to worry about that. I could also probably shorten it up, but I'm again not going to do that. I have the cable unsnipped from where I had it connected to zip ties. So there's the only thing coming out of here is the temporary fiber optic line. Under here is where I'm going to run it. It's disgusting down here, and I absolutely thoroughly hate crawl spaces, so make this as short as possible. I will show you though. So I'm going to cut this. I'm probably going to cut it right around here because I really only need it to go. I'm going to have it coiled up in there, so. But I wanted the splice to stay in that box. I'm just going to cut it right about here, and then I'm going to run the rest of the cable. So I have a pair of shears here. I think these are fiberglass shears, but they should work just fine. And here's our precious fiber optic line. It is blue. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this and I'll catch you in a bit. Alright, so I made the executive decision to not show you me doing the fiber, simply because I am not an expert. I'm sure there's plenty of better videos that show that, show how to do that. But anyways, I have the fiber inside and ready to terminate and ready to splice. One thing I do want to make note of is make sure that none of the optics are coming in, going farther than the electrode. You can see there's the electrode right there. We have both optics just barely before that. If you do not do that, then there's a good chance that it will not work. So anyways, let's go ahead and close this. I had to be a little janky with this because I didn't cut this far back enough. Let's hope it works. So we're going to go ahead and turn it on. And it comes up with this page. I'm just going to go ahead and open and close it. And then, here we go. Look at that. It is done. I just moved the tripod since you don't need to see the screen for this. Now we're going to go ahead and take it out and we're going to do the heat shrink tubing. But first, I don't know if you can see this or not. You probably will not be able to see this unless I do this. It is one piece of fiber. Now let's carefully slide the piece of heat shrink tubing over the fiber, and we are going to open this back here. We're going to put this in and we're just going to go ahead and close this. Now watch this. Now we have a completely solid piece of plastic over the fiber optics, and it is ready to test. So now let's go ahead and reconnect the fiber optics into here, and let's plug it in on the inside and we'll see if we get a connection. All right, here we are back at the ONT, and let's go ahead and connect the optics and see what happens. Hey, we have green lights. Let's go ahead and do a speed test. And I just ran this speed test right here, and check it out. We have gigabit speeds. So I call that a success.